And we're back with another episode of What's Hockey. We got a few things to get into before we tell you about our teams, the Stars and the Red Wings, and do a little bit of gambling. But as we always do, we start with around that hockey. Keaton, what's been happening?
Well, as some would call it, the Diddy Cup is finally over. They played three games together. It was the Predators versus the Oilers. If you know, you
Oh
know.
my god.
For whatever reason, they only had three games on this year, and they were all within the first 2 months of the season. So,
I mean, if you're gonna call
pretty
something the
trash
Diddy
planning.
Cup, go ahead and get that out the way. Let's not talk about that every 2 months.
It could be true. But either way, I feel like the scheduling is pretty shit for the NHL regardless. I mean, most of the games start at 6 anyway, and most of them stay on till 9:30. Like the Red Wings was the Sharks game last night. Was at 9:30 last night Central Time. Can't be doing that. I don't want to wake up at 11. But anyway, yeah, it's just pretty crazy. Oilers took all three of those games just to get back on track. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff in the league this season.
Well, it's funny you say get back on track because they immediately followed up with two L's, one in OT to the Maple Leafs, fine, fair enough, and then the Canadians 3-0 them. And I know
Yeah,
McDavid is
Montreal.
yeah, and I know McDavid is returning back from injury, but I mean the
He's
strength
been
of
back.
Edmonton, yeah, that's true. And the strength of Edmonton in the playoffs was that like each line could deliver and play and their special teams of
Yeah,
course. And so 3-0, I mean that's just a far cry from what they were in the playoffs. But,
can't be
plenty
getting
of time
shut
to
out like
go.
that.
Yeah. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you can't get shut out like that. That's all
Yeah.
I said.
Yeah, for
No need
sure.
to continue.
Oh, my B.
I guess on the flip side of the Oilers' downside, the Minnesota Wild have been pretty solid. I think last year they were just fighting for their lives to get a playoff spot, but couldn't even get close to it just because I think the Predators had that short up, um, at least last year. But yeah, I mean, I think it's Kirill Kaprizov. I don't know how to pronounce his
Yeah,
first
Kirill
name, but
Kaprizov, yeah.
nice dog. He's playing out of his mind. He's got 11 goals and 20 assists, and I mean the current leader only has 15 goals. So I mean he's pretty up there, and I think he's got um, maybe second in points. But yeah, I mean he's playing really well. Sandwiched between Nathan McKinnon and a few other Avalanche players because for whatever reason, Kale McCarr and what's that other guy's name on the Avs? Do you know?
McKinnon?
No, there's another guy.
Oh, my fault.
I said
Totally zoned
McKinnon
out
and
a second.
McCarr. It's
Uh,
cool, dog. There's probably
yeah,
some other guy. Oh yeah, Miko Rantanen. There you
there you
go.
go. There you go.
They're playing really well, together. Always have kind of been, even though they're kind of mid-range as far as a team this year at least. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Look to see the Wild just continue their pretty hot streak coming into the season.
Yeah, and
Not really sure how much off-season changes they made, but whatever they did
well,
is working for them.
yeah, for sure. And the one thing I do want to say is like the continued growth of Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, that's good for them, I suppose. He did win the Calder Cup. He was the Rookie of the Year. Was that 2 years ago? Yeah, because
It
Bedard won
wasn't
it
last
last
year.
year. It could have been 3 years ago, low key. But I do remember he beat out my boy Jason Robertson for that. And yeah, I mean, look, Minnesota, they did lose to the Stars on Saturday night, I believe it was. But they have three more points, I believe, in the same amount of games. Yeah, they do. They're at 25. Stars are at 22. So they've started the season very well. And I mean, like losing to the Stars, the hockey. We'll get into
I
it in
mean,
a
three of
bit.
their
We'll
losses were overtime, so I mean they've at least pushed to overtime as opposed to the Stars taking those outright losses.
Yeah, and look, we're gonna get into Red Wings and Stars talk in more depth in a little bit, but I mean, just to put a little bow on Minnesota, I guess. It's a fantastic start to the season, and losing to the Stars is not a bad thing, obviously. So, I mean, they're looking to bounce back. I know they play tonight. They play the Blues, and I do expect them to bounce back and get a dub there on the road. But yeah, just a impressive start to the
Blues are
season
trash.
this year.
Yeah, dog.
Yep. And I know there's another team in that same division with the Minnesota Wild and the Stars, of course, Winnipeg. Keaton, Winnipeg this past week, what did they do?
They've taken a few losses. They are now 15 out of 18 and lost back to back against the, I think it's Lightning and then the Panthers. They even got shut out against the Panthers, which,
Mm,
I mean, yeah, they're the defending Stanley Cup champs, but, they're just looking a bit lost these last two games. I believe they'll probably bounce back whoever they play against next, but, I mean, like I've said before, they're probably just going to keep shooting themselves in the foot. We'll see what happens, but you know, getting those 15 games, especially just barely, not even fourth into the season. I mean, that doesn't even guarantee a Stanley Cup appearance or even a win. So, got to continue to play as well as they have been, just to even think about getting there. So, yeah, I mean, there's still three-fourths of the season to go, and hopefully they should be playing as well as they have been. Um, yeah,
yeah,
pretty
for sure.
pretty solid.
Very
I
much
love your
so.
input.
I was just listening to you. I was in admiration. It's like when you're looking at a
Oh yeah.
beautiful flower, you were the orchid of storytelling right there.
Okay. Let go out of here. So next, Alex Ovechkin, like I said, he's got 15 goals on the season now. Is the leader in goals for the current season as of right now. Pretty crazy. He played back-to-back games between Sunday and Monday and got 5 goals between them. Had a hat trick in one, got two in the other. Pretty wild stuff to be doing at 39
Dude,
years old.
it's
Um,
genuinely nuts, man.
so
Like I
I mean, 15 goals in
it's
18
amazing
games,
that
that's crazy.
yeah, man. And I mean genuinely I felt like we were trying to bury him on the podcast and
I was just saying
he's
he's older.
skyrocketed to
Probably
another
not going to get
level.
it this
Yeah.
year. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Just the amount of willpower it seems like the team and himself are trying to get him to that record, if not breaking it. Currently, unfortunately, he did get a nasty hit. I believe it's a lower leg injury. Jack McBain, yeah, forward from Utah, got all up in his stuff, and yeah, now he's injured. I don't know the severity. Could be one game, could be multiple games. Hopefully, it's not too long. Because I mean, seems like he's defying physics anyway. He's probably going to bounce back from that injury. What do they call him? The Russian machine. So yeah, pretty wild. So hopefully he can continue this season. It'd be really tough to see him just miss out on injuries and not even get to play.
Yeah, and I know last week in the podcast we had talked about. I think I was saying, there's when you're older, there's some wear and tear on your body, and you're hoping that you can witness some history and see someone play. I think he played 79 games last year, and so play somewhere along that amount of games, and at the pace he's at, he'd easily catch up to. Would he catch Gretzky at the pace he's at? But
To tie it's 41, and to beat it it's 42, and right now he's got 15 out of that. So
okay, so about 30 more with like 70 games to go.
like 27.
Oh, 27 and 30. Okay, guy. All right. But I mean, like, he's
This
at a
guy doesn't know how
phenomenal
to do
pace.
math.
I think so. I want to say
Phenomenal.
that that would, if he keeps the pace up, let's say he doesn't miss that many games, he covers it, right? And so, man,
Oh, for sure. Because I
that
mean,
would
we're not
be,
even a fourth into the season with. I think he's got 18 games. So I mean, out of 82, that's definitely going to be. He should have a 45 plus goal season based on this projection.
Yeah.
But all those projections never really pan out anyway. So
I mean that the
we'll
rate
see what
he's been
happens.
going is almost unreasonable. It'd be if you were to
I
bet
agree.
on him doing it, that's just not a smart bet, honestly. But to
I've
witness
taken
it
too
seems
many
pretty
bets
cool.
against him, and he's just proved me wrong every single time.
I mean,
So
that's fair. That is completely fair, dude. Five
not
goals in the
fan.
last two games, like God.
Incredible,
Yeah,
especially back to
seriously.
back. They were like the day after.
Yeah.
It's not even like there were a 3 day break or anything. You just wake up and play. Pretty
No,
wild.
he's completely different level, completely.
Those
But
Russians be putting stuff in their food.
oh, for sure, for sure. From one team in red to another, Keaton, the Red Wings played some games this last week. How did they do?
That they did. Well, I said that they would go 3-1, and they ended up going 1-3. So that was a pretty solid run for them. We did take out the Penguins early on, but we lost to both the Sharks and the Ducks, as well as the Kings. Just wasn't that good. Granted, the Sharks game was an overtime game. Ironically, we forced it into overtime, not necessarily the Sharks, because they had four, and then we had to score that last goal to tie it. But yeah, I feel like Derek Lalonde needs to get fired. But maybe that's just me. Who knows? Um, I mean, as far as the Penguins, we got up to an early 2-0 lead, looking pretty nice. And by the third period, the previous trends just sparked up and ended up having to get to overtime to win. And yeah, just not really what you're looking to see, especially being up 2-0, not even being able to finish the game for one period, let alone overtime.
Yeah.
And the next game we played the Ducks, which should have been a sure win, and we lose 6-4. Um, shouldn't be allowing the Ducks to score six. I don't know what happened there, but
Hey,
I
I have
mean,
a question about
as
that
far as
game.
the what?
So one, I was listening to a hockey podcast after last night's game, DLLS Sports, and they were saying that Marchment came out and I think it was or Duchesne said that like the Stars have kind of struggled when it comes to playing a team that's perceived to be inferior to you. Do you think the Red Wings, when playing the Ducks, maybe they were like kind of going into it lackadaisical, said like, "Oh, this should be an easy win," and then, I mean, the Ducks come out strong. Red Wings can't retaliate in time.
I mean, that could be it. I don't really know, but I mean, we're not showing up in other games either. So I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
the Penguins were definitely worse than us. I mean, they I think only had maybe 1 point over us within the having like three more games played and stuff. So I mean, they were just barely better than us. So we took that one in overtime, granted, but I mean, we should be playing a lot better, and we just aren't. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, Tarasenko was a great for off-season free agency addition, but he hasn't really been translating it into tangible success. There's absolutely no. He only has one goal in the season. I don't even know how many assists he has. Probably less than 10. But just kind of a waste of space at this point. I mean, I know that we're getting a lot of new players like Jonathan Berggren and Marco Casper and Simon Edvinson. We're giving them a lot more play time, and that's kind of why we shipped off Oli Mata. But I mean, I don't know. If we're trying to rebuild, I feel like we should definitely just lean into it and get rid of the coach, figure out what we need to do. And I mean, we've got great pieces with DeBrincat, Kane, Larkin, Lucas Raymond, even Tarasenko, who should be playing better than he is. I mean, he's still a solid player in general. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup at least once. So, yeah. But either way, I'm glad we're getting in the new players to start playing a little bit more. I know Jonathan Bergeron had a couple goals over the last few games, and Edvinson has been playing really well as far as getting assists, and I think he even has a few goals himself. But it's mainly just Larkin or Lucas Raymond with the assists that are just getting any kind of points done, and we need to spread that around. I mean, we can't just have two players playing. out of a like 11 player team or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something pretty
for
bad.
sure. And I know
But
Tarasenko, he's in like your second line right now. You think it's probably better to move him back to the third or fourth line while he figures this out and give some. I know you want to see the continued growth of that youth. Does that mean putting them in position like a second line and more power play time? Just kind of exposing them to everything you can right now.
mhm. I mean, that would be a good benefit. I mean, I don't know how well they'd hold up. I mean, granted, it's not like it'd be any worse than what we're doing right now, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice, especially with Tarasenko, just having some sense of skill. I mean, even being in that third or fourth line, he could bolster those lines and make it a little bit more spreadable. I've seen a lot of people talk about how the first line should just be Kane, DeBrincat, and Larkin, but I mean, I like that they've spread those players around just to kind of give a little bit of, you know, I guess fluidity within each line. But it just seems like we kind of need to stack it out, kind of like what the Oilers do with Draisaitl and McDavid, where they have just the power heavy first and second lines, and then the other two are just kind of what they are. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Clearly, what is happening is not working. So we need to get some sense of a change, and that could be Derek Lalonde, that could be more players. Not running 100% sure what the issue could be, but it definitely is an issue. And the end of the season,
Yeah.
we're not looking great
Well, and
at seventh out of eighth in the Atlantic Division. So
it's pretty crazy to me
just not
too
great.
that yeah, no, I mean that's definitely a situation where firing the head coach feels very warranted, and not saying that you can. It'd be difficult to say that you can accomplish what Edmonton did, but they were in a very similar situation as far as they felt they had personnel good enough to get them to the playoffs, and they started horrendously last year. They fired the coach, and one thing that is necessary is bringing in the right man for the job, and so it could be a situation where bringing in someone fresh, someone who can motivate the players to get them where they need to be, get Tarasenko firing. And I mean,
Yeah,
like
I
you
mean,
said, you
sometimes all
have,
you really need is a different perspective.
yeah, yeah, completely. So I think that's definitely a situation that y'all are going to have to look into going forward. I know that y'all have got some games coming up, Keaton. What are you expecting out of that?
We don't play games. We're
So
serious over here.
I got you. That's on me.
Yeah, yeah, dog.
I
Oh,
know. Oh, sorry, I don't have it on
uh,
me.
when we play Thursday, Saturday, and Monday. So we play the Islanders twice, both Thursday and Monday, and what was it, the Bruins? Yeah, the Bruins on Saturday. Looks like these, at least the first two games, are home games. Uh, Little Caesars Arena is pretty tight, you know. But I don't know. I don't really know. The Islanders have been looking pretty okay. They're kind of middle of the pack, but definitely looking a lot better than the Red Wings have been. So I kind of feel like they'll get at least one game, if not both. And then of course the Bruins, they've also just kind of been seemingly picking up the pieces. They've kind of just been middle of the pack as of late, and I think we're probably going to be losing to them as well. But yeah, pretty bleak outlook for Red Wings fans coming up
It
for the
really
next
sounds like
60
it.
plus games. So yeah, look to see maybe a 20 win season, if that. So be pretty
Jesus.
good.
You put up that light in
It's
the
probably going to be better than
background.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
dude.
would hope. You put that light up in the background and it's gone all dark for the Red Wings since.
It still
Um,
works.
yeah, yeah, for sure. On the flip side, the Dallas Stars. I believe I said 2-1 with a loss to the Wild, and that did not come true. We did go 2-1. We lost to the Ducks though at home. There's no way I would have predicted that. But to recap real quickly, we played the Bruins. We hosted the Bruins actually. Beat them 7-2. We got Oscar Beck to get his first goal of the season. Duchesne was, did he get the? I'm blanking. My fault.
He's
There were
probably
seven
got
goals.
him.
There were a lot of people scoring. Dodonov
Oh,
had
that's
two.
not fair.
Dodonov had a fantastic game. I think Duchesne did get a goal and assist. Marchman goal and assist. But Dodonov definitely stood out to me in that game. So I know he was out for a little bit. Seeing him back in the lineup, I really like that for sure. And to the line between uh, Marchment, Duchesne, and Sagan it's just been stupendous this year. So to see them continue that was back to back games with 7 goals, so more goals than the Cowboys scored points. In their final
Pretty
game.
good,
Well,
dog.
okay, they did play a Monday night game yesterday, but the game before that. Regardless, they go ahead and take on Minnesota on the road. Minnesota wore their North Stars uniforms, and so it really felt like it was the Stars versus the Stars in that game. In that one, look up their uniforms. It's our old color
Nobody
scheme. It
likes.
felt like we were in our
Nobody knows what you're
against our
talking
own
about.
throwbacks. That's fair. The first goal, Labushkin. So Sagan wins the drop. It goes immediately to Labushkin, and he rifles it. Marchman deflects it and scores a goal. And then later on, it was Sam Steele, I believe, who's driving at the net. There's one defender between, kind of on the side of him and the goalie. He distracts him enough, drops it back, and it's Marchment again scoring the goal. On the other end, it was Kirill Kaprizov scored that goal for Minnesota. So we talked about him having a good year, and he does end up putting one in the net. But the Stars win that one 2-1. And then last night happened. We go ahead and lose 4-2 to the Ducks. We kind of made it a game late. It was three
The
to
Ducks are just
two
really
when
good, you know.
the Ducks go ahead and get an empty net goal, making it 4-2. The Stars just started very slow in that game. The Ducks scored a goal almost off rip, and then they score another goal like 5 minutes into it. So, I mean, we were just. It really felt like we did not come to play. Again, Duchesne in the post game interview said that he felt the team did not take them serious. Essentially, that there was a perceived disparity in talent there, and obviously the Ducks made him pay for that. And the Ducks have done that a few times this year. As poorly as you feel Detroit's doing, the Ducks have a similar amount of points, and I would say that's a big success early into the season because they finished last year. They started, middle, and finished horribly, and so it's definitely a good season for them so far. And their style of play, I think, benefited them against the Stars too, where they're going to throw it at the net as quickly as they can. Often they're going to try to get people in the middle to create some disruptions. And the Stars, I feel like we like to hold possession a little longer. And they won the battle of strategies last night, and so they won 4-2. Going forward, the Stars have. Do we have 3 games before we record again? I will tell you when my computer decides to help me out and not freeze a little bit. Um, yeah, tomorrow we've got the Sharks. That will be here. Saturday will be away at Tampa Bay against the Lightning. And Monday we'll be on the road in Carolina. And I see that going 2-1. Stars with a win against the Sharks. I think we bounce back. We stop playing down to the opponent, take them seriously, and I'll say we win that one. Saturday, I'll say we win as well against Tampa Bay. I hate seeing Tampa Bay ever since they got the better of us in the Stanley Cup final. I hate Vasilevsky, but I do think the Stars and their lines get it going. And so I'll say we beat the Lightning there on the road. And then lastly, on the road in Carolina, I'll say the Hurricane beat us in that one on Monday night next week. So 2-1 for the Stars.
Nice dog.
Yes, sir. Now let's go to some pick'ems. Last week, Keaton, we both went we're 8-7 currently. We went 2-3 as we both got the Red Wings. The Capitals failed us both. I got Utah over the Hurricanes. The Kings failed us, and then you got the Ducks plus 1.5 to cover there to tie it up at 8-7. Now this week we have the Edmonton Oilers taking on, or today actually, the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Senators, where it is Edmonton minus 1.5 goals. Who do you got there?
I mean, I'll probably take Edmonton because they're
Fair enough.
probably gonna win.
I will say the Senators. Actually, I'll take that plus 1.5. Just dang, anything kind of happen, and Oilers are kind of middling right now. They still need to find their way, so I'll take Ottawa. Moving on, we got Tampa and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Lightning are minus 1.5. This will be taking place in Pittsburgh, by the way. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Penguins in this one.
Penguins plus 1.5. I will take the Lightning there minus 1.5. Just Pittsburgh, they haven't showed me anything, so I got to go against them. Moving on, Kirill Kaprizov and the Wild will be in St. Louis taking on the Blues. It is minus 1.5 to the Wild. Who do you have in that one?
I'm gonna pick the Wild to continue their hot streak.
I too will say the Wild minus 1.5 in that one. So hopefully they don't let us down there. Moving on, we got the Panthers and the Jets, which should be a pretty dang good matchup. This will be taking place in Winnipeg, and it's Jets minus 1.5. Who do you got there?
I'm probably gonna take the Panthers in this one. It seems like they took care of business that first game, and while they do travel to Winnipeg, I feel like they'll still be in the game and just shut out like they did the Jets.
All
So
right, it's a clean
might
sweep
be a close
there.
game, but
Yeah, fair enough. It's a clean sweep there as I too will be taking the reigning champion Florida Panthers plus 1.5. Moving on, we got the Ducks. They'll be playing a back to back. This time they're going up to Chicago to take on the Blackhawks, and it is Chicago minus 1.5. Who do you have there?
I'm probably gonna take the Ducks in this one because the Chicago Blackhawks really have no pep in their step for the most part. I mean, they pretty much just have Connor Bedard in their ring, and that's about it. I mean, they've kind of been a mess all season and all last season. I think they're projected to even get another
Yeah,
first round pick. So
honestly, if it weren't for the Ducks being on a back to back where they're traveling, I might join you and take the Ducks. But for the case being what it is, I'll take Chicago minus 1.5. Which yeah, we'll see. Moving on, the Islanders, New York Islanders traveling to Calgary to take on the Flames, where it is Flames minus 1.5. Who do you got there?
I'm taking the Flames. They had a pretty hot start to the season. Oh no, that was the Devils. Never mind. I'm not talking right. So yeah, I'm just gonna pick the Flames just cause just cause.
I too will be taking the Flames just cause minus 1.5 points there. And lastly, the other New York team, the Rangers, are also going up to Canada. They'll be in Vancouver to take on the Canucks. It is Canucks minus 1.5. Who do you got there?
I'm taking the Rangers in that one because they're pretty much better than the Canucks.
Yeah, Rangers plus 1.5. I like that line as well. So I too will be taking Rangers plus 1.5. Did I say that right? I feel like I jumbled some words there.
It's all right, dog. You be slurring everything.
Yep. So that's a clean sweep at the end. I will, of course, update everyone next week and let them know how we did. Fair amount of differing opinions there. We'll see if it lines up to where we're equal or does not. Keaton, we've been ending with some prize picks bets at the end of our show. Last week, I had one man hit and one man miss, which has been the story of our season. O'Connor, I needed him to get one hit, and he decided to play scared and let me down. I believe you had a man come through and a man let you down. Is that correct?
That is correct. Unfortunately, Sider's great time on ice, amount of time played, he did so great in doing that. But, Carlson just needs to get better. The Penguins should have scored more. The Red Wings are trash. So, it's just one of those things. It's kind of like stepping on a Lego when you wake up in bed. It just hurts, It just hurts. Hurts the soul. It's not fun.
Do you have a lot of Legos laying around by your bedside?
Not anymore. That's, I don't know.
You learned your
25
lesson?
years past. Yeah. That's
Fair enough.
Not a hard lesson to learn.
So,
especially early in one's career of life.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah.
That being said, this again is not financial advice, as Keaton and I are 0-4 through 2 weeks of
losing
picks.
Money.
But I'm about to deliver some gold. Again, not financial advice. But I will go ahead and say Leon Draisaitl. He let me down 2 weeks ago. I needed a point from him, I believe. We're not doing a full point here. I need him to get over 2.5 shots on goal. I think he'll accomplish that tonight. And I'm going to pair that with a Josh Morrissey under on his 0.5 assists there. I don't think he'll get one tonight. So that's my line.
He's going to be the first one to get an assist tonight.
No.
So my prize picks, I've got Seth Jones on the under for time on ice. For whatever reason, his line is 25 minutes at 0.25. So, I mean, that's a long time even for a defender. He's only hit it twice in the last 5 games. So I feel like Chicago is just kind of going to be at a loss for what Anaheim has. And maybe Seth Jones gets a couple penalties. That just adds to that. And then my other one I'm going to pair with is Alexis Lafreniere. He's been pretty great for the Rangers. The over on his 0.5 points. He's been pretty hot the last 4 games, so look to see him continue on the 5th.
All right. Well, again, not financial advice, but I think those are both greening tonight. We kind of need it. But anyway, Keaton,
I'm putting my life savings on it.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I think that's really good advice. Do you got anything else
advice
to wrap up this show? Anything we may have forgotten?
I don't believe so. Just look to see the Red Wings suck.
All right. We will look forward to seeing the Red Wings suck. That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. We will catch y'all later.
Have a good week.